having influence is stepping into the opportunities that are there for us that sometimes we ourselves don't believe we're ready for.
Yeah.
But when others see that it's in you, they can really bring that out.
She said to me, she was like, Arthi, if you have a seat at the table, you always take the seat at the table. And I was like, wow, thank you, Minister, because I feel in that moment you really inspired me as a young woman.
Always want young people to understand is you will make mistakes.
Yeah.
You will
Absolutely.
get things wrong.
All the time.
I have made terrible mistakes in my life. I have mucked things up at work. I've looked back on things that I did as a young person and I'm almost ashamed. At the time, I thought this is going to be the end of my life. The trick is the keeping on going. Yep. The trick is the getting up again.
Kia ora everyone and welcome to Voiceofaroha, Wellington Access Radio 106.1 FM. My name is Arthi and I'm joined by my lovely co-host. How are you today, Kodrean?
I'm good, thank you, Arthi. How are you?
I'm very good because we have an incredible guest in our studio today. We have the lovely Minister of Finance, Nicola Willis. How are you today, Minister?
I am very well, thank you. Delighted to be with you both.
Thank you so much for your time. Earlier this year I had the wonderful privilege of being the Youth MP to the Minister and I'm really excited to have her in the studio today to ask her a few questions, talk a little bit about leadership, her journey into politics. But yeah, if we were to pass the mic on to you, who is Minister Nicola Willis?
Well, I just first want to say the privilege was actually me having you as my youth MP. The minute that I announced that Arthi was my youth representative, I was flooded with feedback from people in the community telling me what a special woman she is, and that's very clear. So it was an absolute privilege to have you as my youth MP. Who am I? Well, primarily I'm a mother of four.
Wow.
My children are aged 15, 14, 12 and 9, and they're the centre of my world.
Yeah.
I'm also a wife. I am a Wellingtonian of many years. I have
Proud
lived in
Wellingtonian.
Auckland for several years, but I was born here, raised here, and I've worked most of my career here. And at this point in my life, I am the Minister for Finance, the Minister for Economic Growth, and the Minister for Social Investment in the national-led government. And those roles enable me to represent New Zealanders and to make decisions that I think will deliver for people now and for the future and for future generations. So I'm a very fortunate person.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing, Minister. And what was kind of your journey into politics? Did you always know you wanted to be a politician, or how did that come about?
I'm not one of those people that knew I wanted to be a politician.
Yeah.
I admire those young people who have that clarity of vision, and I think that's quite extraordinary, but it certainly wasn't something on my radar that I considered. I was really lucky when I finished my studies. I was deciding what to do next, and a job became available in what was called the Opposition Research Unit of Parliament.
Interesting.
And in that job, they wanted someone who could write speeches, dig up stories, do policy work, write questions in Parliament. And I thought, that sounds like an amazing role. Long story short, I managed to charm my way into getting an interview, and I was assigned to be Bill English's researcher.
Cool.
At that time, he was the opposition education spokesperson. He obviously went on to become finance minister and prime minister, but that was a long way off at that point. He had been the leader of the National Party, and he had lost the leadership.
Yeah.
And so very early on when I sat down with him, he said to me, look, Nicola, you may think I've lost the faith of my party and that therefore I'm yesterday's man.
Yeah.
But let me be very clear with you. Political leadership is not about status or roles.
Of course.
It is about the difference you make for other people. And in this role, I intend to make a really big difference. And if you work hard alongside me, I'll teach you how to have that impact for other people using this institution. And so that was a really wonderful introduction to politics. I wasn't politically aligned, but certainly the experience of working alongside him and later John Key gave me a sense of their values and aspirations, which did resonate with my own, and I was fortunate to have a range of roles with them, which gave me a taste of politics.
Yeah.
I had my children. I took other roles outside of Parliament, but it became clear to me that Parliament was a place that I felt I could have an impact.
Definitely.
And so I made that choice.
That is amazing, Minister. Thank you for sharing.
What inspiring.
Yeah.
So I'm really engaged on that journey, but I want to ask you, now you interviewed Arthi when she became youth MP, right? How is the feeling now, you're youth MP?
Well, I think the thing with Arthi that people who watch this podcast will have seen is that she is wise beyond her years and has a level of empathy and insight that is special. So I know you're going to ask good questions.
Thank you, Minister. What was the experience of having a youth MP like for you, like not just this year but in the past years as well? Why is it important that we are seeing more young people stepping up into these roles and these leadership positions?
Yeah, well, I think that often young people are already leaders in their community and in their schools, but they often view that leadership as somehow different or distinct from what happens in Parliament.
Definitely.
And a large part of Youth Parliament for me is normalising parliamentary processes and making young leaders recognise that they can use the tools of our parliamentary democracy to have an influence and to give power to that voice and demystify the way it works in terms of select committees, in terms of speaking in the House, debates, questions, what all of that means and how to use those tools. So I think it's great to not only do that, but also bring together really diverse leaders from all over the country, different backgrounds, different perspectives, and bring them together.
I remember one of my most vivid experiences from being Nicola Willis's Youth MP was that one of the days I was shadowing her in Parliament, and she was in an important meeting, and I was like, Minister, can I come and sit in on your meeting? And she was like, absolutely. And so I went and sat on the couch, and she was like, oh, no, Arthi, I saved your seat right next to me at the table. And for that was just really inspiring to me. And she said to me, she was like, Arthi, if you have a seat at the table, you always take the seat at the table. And I was like, wow, thank you, Minister, because I feel in that moment you really inspired me as a young woman, but also to show that young people do belong in those spaces like that. So,
absolutely. And I think that's something that, leadership is a cycle. So what we learn from the people who mentor us and lead us, we can then give to others. And I had an experience when I was a young advisor in then Prime Minister Key's office. I was a young woman in my 20s and we were having a meeting about the economy and a long line of men in suits walked in, and they were all from Treasury and they were economists and they were very capable people. And when we went in to have the meeting, I instinctively went to sit in the back row of seats and didn't sit at the table. And John Key said, Nicola, what are you doing sitting over there? And I said, well, obviously it's all of these important people. And he said, but you are my senior advisor. And I want you in here because I need your perspective. That's why you're in the team. So come and sit at the table where you belong. And I think often having influence is stepping into the opportunities that are there for us that sometimes we ourselves don't believe we're ready for. But when others see that it's in you, they can really bring that out.
Definitely. Right. Because when I told people that I was Minister's Youth MP, they were like, oh, she's probably too busy to talk to you, interact. But no, she took the time to really get me involved in all these different spaces and really empowering young people as well to show them that they can be leaders. So I really admire how you are such a good role model to young people as well. And thank you for being that person that people can look up to.
Well, thank you. For me, one of the things that all of us have in our life is there's all of the work that we do and the influence we're trying to have, but in every day we have the opportunity to make someone else inspired or to make their day better.
Absolutely.
And if I can inspire just one young woman to take a step into politics or into leadership that she might not otherwise have taken, that to me is a really significant achievement.
Absolutely.
I see that, Minister, from your journey, how you've been, let's say, been working with our previous Honourable John Key and how now you are mentoring the other young people. And you mentioned inspiring the women something. Now I want to ask you a question about leadership. Leadership is about the journey, then we get into different role, different time, different positions. Now you are in a position of power, but I think it's should we call it the most highest power for the Wahine, or Prime Minister is the most highest?
Well, the Governor General officially.
That's the one, right.
She's the King's representative here.
Exactly.
But look, the Prime Minister and then David Seymour and Winston Peters and then me is the kind of ranking.
Right. So as that journey for you, how has been? Does the leadership change? And who are the voice of people you take with you when you make those decisions? Yeah,
well, look, it's a really great question. So I think the first thing about all of us is that I always remind people that if you are truly leading and you are learning, then the role that you take on, you won't be 100% ready for, because by definition, if you were, you would have already done it. And so you need to be prepared to have that feeling of stepping up into a challenge and doing it in order to take on leadership, because otherwise you never extend yourself and you stay where you are. And you need to be able to say yes to opportunities. But the thing that I've realised throughout my career is that the best leaders don't presume that they know everything or that they have the right answer to everything. Instead, they presume that there is a range of people around them who might know more about particular aspects of an issue. And the job is to surround yourself with that insight and those perspectives and be very good at synthesizing it and analysing it and bringing your own values to it so that you can sift through all of that information and insight and make a decision. And I'm so fortunate in this role because I'm able to surround myself with incredible advisors from our public service, from the Treasury, from the Ministry for Business, from the Ministry for Social Investment, my colleagues across the National Party team and across our cabinet. And in all of that, really what it comes down to for me is what are my values? And I am in Parliament primarily because I wanted to know that every day that I went to work, I was making a contribution that justified me in the initial stages, not being at home with my young children. Because I truly believe that when you're parenting young kids, you're making a massive difference. And so for me it was, what is this work that I'm doing and is it making a contribution that is bigger than myself? And I believe that Parliament is a place you can have an impact that's far bigger than yourself and your own family. And in doing that, I'm going to make this country better, not just for my kids, but that's in my mind, but also for other kids. And so that grounds me. So whenever I'm kind of deciding on something, I think, what am I going to be able to turn around and look James and Harriet and Ruben and Gloria in the eye and say, well, I made that decision because what we knew we needed to achieve was this for your future. And so that helps me.
That's beautiful, Mr. Willis. And obviously being in a high position of power like you are in right now, a lot of people, there's so much hate online, especially in the media, so much like backlash and things like that. How do you deal with all of that?
Well, the first thing is you just got to acknowledge haters going to hate.
Haters going to hate.
Like they're going to be out there. And, I am very philosophical about it, which is the first perspective I take on it is if people are really negative on a personal level, then it always does say more about them than it does about you else. Because we should be able to have really robust debate and discourse without making it personal. I can accept that someone thinks a completely different policy is right from me. That doesn't mean they're motivated by the wrong things. That doesn't mean that they don't care. It means that they have a different view of how to get to those outcomes. So I am able to see that. And I think actually my experience is the vast majority of New Zealanders are able to behave that way too and be very civil. So I try not to let it get to me. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is the bit that people don't see and that I really want people listening to this to understand, because I want more people to put themselves forward for public office of all sorts, is that for the hatred you see online, there is also beautiful people who completely for no reason will come up to me on the street at an event and tell me how proud they are of me, what a good job they think I'm doing, the difference something we've done's made to their family. I get emails from people, letters from people. And so I take that on as fuel, and I remember that for every criticism, there's also someone with a compliment. And I think finally, back to what I was saying earlier, in the end, you have to feel good in your own heart, and your own values, and your own mind, and recognise that if you try and please everyone all the time, you're never going to get anywhere. Leadership, unfortunately, involves decisions in which there are arguments on both sides.
That people are not going to like.
That's right.
So time is running fast. We have time for two more questions. One of them, there's many questions we wanted to ask as a budget and all of that, because that's a big decisions to make. I think I may summarize it in this way. What does look like future for New Zealand? And specifically, we're talking about youth or marginalized community. Are they part of the future that you guys are leading at this stage?
Yeah, well, look, it's all about how do we make New Zealand a better country for young people growing up to be adults and for future generations. And when you talk to young people about what they aspire to, there's some common themes. They want to have good, meaningful work that allows them to look after their own families and have good choices and opportunities in their own lives. They want to have a sense of purpose about that work, and they want access to good public services, a good health system, good roads, good schools, all of those things. So the question becomes, how do we deliver that? And when I look around the world, it's obvious that countries that are wealthier than us are able to pay their people more, are able to invest more in their schools and their hospitals. And so my driving mission in this role is how do we make New Zealand a wealthier country so that we can create better paying jobs for everyone from all walks of life. And so we as a country have more money to invest in the things we care about, schools and hospitals and community safety. And so that grounds me, and when we are delivering budgets, we're always thinking about what does this do now and what does this do for the long term, and does this support New Zealand getting up that wealth curve and becoming a place where more people will want to invest and have businesses and grow.
Beautiful. And if people want to learn more about the budget, where can they go to look further?
Well, you can just go to the Treasury website, but if you just Google budget 2025, a page will come up and it will tell you what we've invested. Budgets are interesting because governments invest billions of dollars every year, and budgets are looking at the extra bit on top. So there's some money that just stays there, and then it's what do we add the extra money for? And my emphasis has been we have to put extra money into health and into education and into the police.
Definitely.
And then we have choices about what are the things that we can stop in order to make sure we've got enough money to put into those things. Always for me, I'm conscious, I could get more money tomorrow. The way that I could do that is two ways. I could take more of your wages through tax. I don't think that's the right thing to do right now, given people are often really experiencing the cost of living as a difficulty.
Definitely.
Or I can borrow more from the world, but of course that can't go on forever. Because we all know that if you borrow forever, the interest bill gets too high.
Definitely.
So we're trying to do it in a very balanced way so that we're not leaving young people in the future with debt to pay off.
Absolutely. Well, Minister, we know you are very busy and you have a country to run. So we have a kind of final question and then a little extra thing that we do for all our guests. But just as a wrapping up, what is one message that you would give to young people who want to get into leadership roles but might be a little bit scared?
I'm going to give you two.
Go for it.
The first is you don't know what's ahead of you.
Definitely.
And none of us do. And I admire those people with 5-year plans and things. But actually,
Not me.
my experience is that one day an opportunity will knock. And as I said earlier, you won't be ready for it yet, by definition. What you have to do when that opportunity comes is I want you to put your shoulders back, put your head high, and I want you to walk through that door and say yes. Because if not you, then who? And always be prepared to back yourself into that opportunity, because good things come when we stretch ourselves in our view of who we can be and what we are capable of. I think that's really important. And just have faith that those opportunities will present themselves, and if you show up for them, they will lead to other opportunities. The second thing I always want young people to understand is you will make mistakes. You will get things wrong.
All the time.
I have made terrible mistakes in my life. I have mucked things up at work. I've looked back on things that I did as a young person and I'm almost ashamed. At the time, I thought this is going to be the end of my life. The trick is the keeping on going. The trick is the getting up again. The trick is recognising that there is no leader in any position of power who hasn't made terrible mistakes. The difference is they learned from them and they keep going. So if you fall off the way and you feel I've made a mistake, just know that's part of every leader's journey, and don't let it set you back.
Thank you, Minister Willis, for sharing.
Amazing.
And to close, our tradition is we get all our guests to write a question to the next guest, even though they have no idea what it will be. And this one is very fitting, and
so
it
let's
is.
see what is the question for you, and you will also have a chance to write.
Oh, that's really cool. I like that.
What is the question?
They didn't know it was going to be you, by the way. But if you would be the Prime Minister of New Zealand tomorrow, what would be the first thing that you would want to do?
Well, I guess it's an interesting question because I'm obviously very fortunate that I get to work alongside the Prime Minister and get to have a influence on his decision making every week. I think the thing for me that I feel personally very passionate about, that if I was Prime Minister I would be able to shine more of a light on, is I would want to highlight the work that we are doing in social investment, which is a new area of work that I've set up, which is all about how do we intervene earlier in people's lives to stop them going off track. What are the social organisations that can work with at-risk young people, at-risk families, at-risk babies, to make sure that they don't end up on a trajectory into crime and dependency and all of those issues that we all want to avoid. And we all kind of know if you put an ambulance at the top of the cliff, at the bottom of the cliff, that costs you a lot more than just building the fence at the top. So social investment is about building better fences to protect those with additional needs. And I'm doing a lot of work in there. And if I was Prime Minister, I would shine a light on it.
That's amazing. I thought you were going to say take Chris Luxon's office, but your one is way better and bigger as well.
Yeah, I mean, if I was Chris Luxon, I'd take a breather for a day. That man works very, very hard.
I can imagine. You all do. But thank you so much, Minister Willis, for taking your time to come speak with us. Yeah. We appreciate it. Our listeners appreciate it. You've shared some incredible wisdom. And thank you for your time. We hope you enjoyed today.
Thank you for the opportunity. You're both very gracious people, and thank you for providing this opportunity to the listeners.
Absolutely. Thank you, Minister. Thank you.